welcome back. Today we're gonna continue with my last video. In my last video I said that the sane people need to get louder, and the reason behind it is that the internet nowadays, even before what happened to Charlie, it felt like really dark place. And it's internet, social media, and the legacy media as well. And the reason behind it is actually crazy. It's this small group of, I dare to say, mentally ill people that are just loud. And the small group, because if you take the whole population of the world or US, it's literally minority, but they're loud ones. And like I said, unfortunately, they kind of spread like cancer. So now they're in legacy media, in the game development, like everywhere, right? And I understand that normal, logical people, when they see some of these BS hateful comments, the first you want to react, right? But then you take 1 to 3 seconds to actually think about it. And that's what makes you different comparing to these people, right? And then you're like, yeah, it's not worth it, whatever. I get that. And before what happened to Charlie, I would say yes, that's the right approach. But not anymore. We need to get louder. Because the state of the internet right now, it makes you feel, you normal people, logical people, smart people, it makes you feel like you might be the wrong one. It might make you feel desperate, like, is this the real world? No, never think it's the real world. It's internet. It's legacy media, which unfortunately is propaganda. It's social media, it's game development, it's not the real world. And you'll find out if you talk to people around you. There's more people that have the same opinion as you are than these mentally insane people. And that brings me again to the point of my last video. That's why you need to leave at least 1 to 2 comments on every BS hateful comment you'll see. You know why? Because the normal logical people, when they see that there's a reply to this BS, they will click on it. And once they click on it and see that there's someone with the same opinion, it makes hella difference. So anyway, why I'm making this video today? I got into that with liberal. And we're gonna talk about how to handle this liberal Democrat. And you know what? I don't think all of the liberals and Democrats are mentally ill. I don't know why they voted the way they did, but I really don't think all of them are writing these hateful comments. No, like I said, it's just a small group of people. By the way, if you voted liberals or Democrats, write me in the comments why you voted it. But yeah, let's talk about it. So I had another incident with some liberal lady or Democrat lady. It was in the comment section of my wife's video. I'm gonna put it on the screen in a second. You know what's funny? They always have the same arguments. It doesn't matter if it's a Canadian liberal, US liberal or Democrat, they always have the same arguments. And don't get me wrong. So the way how to handle this interaction with the liberal who's looking really kind of insane, sorry, but like, if we're trying to have discussion and you're just close-minded, still going about some BS you found on the internet, I don't know, once you use the word fascist and Nazi, you're full on insane, I'm sorry. So the way how to handle this conversation. we're gonna go through some facts, but in the end, the best way is, like I said, leave 1 to 2 comments and just get out of there. Get out of the discussion. If you see that they're not willing to listen or even take a look at it, like I said, maybe you should make a research. Maybe don't look at all of these montages and things taken out of context. You know what was the reply? Maybe you should make a research. And I'm like, seriously? I watched every single Charlie's debate since last year, pretty much this time. For the whole year, I watched every single video. And you're gonna tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about? Anyway, let's get to that. Let's get to that comment section. Okay, here we go. So that's the liberal I was talking about, this Lexi Simon, right? Or Simon, whatever. So there was a comment on my wife's video regarding Charlie Kirk. It's not left versus right anymore. It's humanity versus insanity. These people are insane. Stay safe, Natalia. And this lady, Lexi Simon, like I said, her first comment, you can see it on the screen, keep the same energy for Democrat lawmakers who were assassinated in their own home and their dog because of their political stance. Plus, the murderer had a hit list of many Democrats. Selective rage is absurd. Look in the mirror instead of making the divide bigger when it's just plain hypocrisy. Okay, obviously, when I saw this, I couldn't stop myself and I replied, first of all, you're comparing Democrat lawmakers. And this is the big word, right? Lawmaker versus, you can say, political commentator. So Democrat lawmaker can literally pass the law that will contribute to someone ending on the street. Let's say, for example, right? So I'm not saying it's justified. Obviously, murder is always bad. Let's put it out there first thing. But if you're comparing these two cases, on one side, you have someone who's just talking. And on the other side, you have someone who can literally pass the law that's going to affect million lives. I don't know. So to me, it's disingenuous comparison. And let's talk about these two Democrats. If I remember correctly, it was all over the legacy media. A lot of political commentators and YouTubers made videos about it. I think it was the crazy guys that were dressed up as cops, right? Just with the pig mask or something like that. And they stole the cop car. Like, it was all over media. So it's, what are you talking about? Keep the same energy. And at the same time, I didn't see a single comment celebrating it or single comment being like, good job. I bet there were some hateful comments, like, right? It's all the time. Like, the weird people are on both sides. Let's not be too naive about that, but nothing as big as what we're seeing now with Charlie Kirk. And I didn't see any TikTok videos or YouTube videos that were mocking the murder of these two Democrats. So again, horrible thing. But what are we comparing? Anyway, then we go, someone replied copium, which I agree, base comment. She replied, selective as fuck. I look in the mirror, I pray for you and your country because looks like you need it a whole lot. So I guess she's not from US. Well, I'm not from US and I still followed it. I don't know. I really think there's no hypocrisy. Like, everyone got the same amount of attention. The difference is that reaction to one was much more compassionate than reaction to Charlie Kirk. And you're just proving it, right? And that's when I got included. And I pretty much said whatever I just mentioned. And I also mentioned the legacy media celebrities in Hollywood talk about lawmakers. You don't really see them talking about Charlie. And that's crazy. How many celebrities did you hear talking about Charlie Kirk? How many celebrities from Hollywood? It's like they got an order to be quiet. And we know why, right? Chris Pratt just made a post, pray for Charlie Kirk and his family, and people were calling to cancel him. That's ridiculous. Anyway, she replied to me, "Here we go again. You should really look up the difference between opinions and hate speech." Yeah, I think you should look up the difference between opinions and hate speech. There was a good tweet that J.K. Rowling reposted. Obviously, some Democrats started with that the right was violent through the words. Sorry, words are not violent. Words are opinions. It's not like you go out, someone says something mean to you and you end up in the hospital because the words hurt you, right? I don't know. So yeah, like difference between opinion and hate speech. Yeah, look it up. There was no hate speech on Charlie's YouTube or X, and we're gonna look into that later as well, because this disguising it as opinions for your narrative is absurd. Did they lower the flags for the lawmakers who were actually in the political position, and they were not just podcasters who spewed hatred? Again, do your research. Give me a specific example what hatred he spewed, and I want a full video. I want a full sentence, not just out of the context. Anyway, podcaster spew has... Look at your president before you start comparing to legacy media and Hollywood. Also, the right immediately threatened, I guess. Well, I don't think they treated anyone. But yeah, I think she's missing H. The left without having an idea about who the shooter was, and even if he were left, that does not mean you inflict violence or threaten it on millions of innocent. Okay, first of all, you saw the comments on the internet. You saw the TikTok videos, you saw the YouTube videos celebrating it, saying horrible things about Charlie that were not correct. So yeah, I don't know what you're saying. And how did they threaten them? Saying that we need to be louder? Like, look, if you compare left and right, left literally went to the streets, burned the whole city for George Floyd. What did right do? Light on the candles, had the vigils, talk on the internet, shared his stories about Charlie. I didn't see anything violent. And it goes even further. Today I saw a video of one of the students on some university who went to the vigil of Charlie Kirk, and he started mocking Charlie. He started doing like the movement like he got shot into the neck and just bothered everyone. What do you think was the reaction of the people at the vigil? Do you think they went and beat him up? No, they didn't. There was nothing violent about that. Not even then. Not even when they're provoked. No, you know why? Because of Charlie Kirk. Because of Charlie would not do it. Because of Charlie would not stand for the violence or hate. Because he was one of the only people that when someone was violent to him, aggressive or whatever, someone was attacking him, he literally showed him the other cheek and talked to him, tried to discuss it. And he even said it that once we stop talking, that's when violence takes over. And that's why he was willing to talk to liberals, Democrats, anyone. Anyway, every single Democrat who are in power have stated they do not condone the violence that happened on Charlie, and I agree. Not really correct. I know there was a vote in some, what was it? Parliament? Not a parliament. Some, on the state level. They had a meeting, the politicians, right? And there was supposed to be a vote if they're gonna give Charlie a minute of silence within the parliament building or government building, whatever. And the Democrats shouted, fuck no. Literally, fuck no. There's a video. So don't tell me these lies. And when we're talking left and right, we're not necessarily talking about just politicians, right? Politicians, if they're good, they're still kind of keeping some public appearance, trying to be professional because it's their job. But when we're talking about Democrats, we're talking about the voters as well. And like I said, I'm not saying it's all the Democrats are bad. I still think, even though I don't understand why at this day and age, why would you vote for Democrats? I don't think all of them are crazy lunatics who are celebrating murder of Charlie Kirk. How are the people in power on the right reacted in violent ways? Again, they did not, but sure. Saying insanity versus humanity is hypocritical and makes the divide larger. Well, no one's saying that humanity is just right. Humanity is literally everyone who felt sorry for Charlie, whether they had the same opinions or no. And insanity is literally everyone who was celebrating Charlie Kirk's death or who's throwing dirt on his name, who's spreading the lies. So, I don't know. I don't mind the right so much. I hate extremists on either side. I'm often in the middle, but people denying the cruel things Charlie has said drives me nuts. How can you ignore that? Cruel things. We're gonna get to it because, what did I reply? You should look at your source, Charlie Kirk's YouTube, and not just some short clips, blah, 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 right? Also, you're mentioning having violent reaction. There was no violence. Cities haven't been burned down. People celebrating Charlie's murder have not been beaten up. Humanity versus insanity. People celebrating murder of innocent young men. How would you call it? That's insanity. That's devil. That's evil. And again, I'm not really religious yet. But, and make no mistake, these people who celebrate it are Democrat voters. I'm not saying that Democratic Party celebrates it or that all voters celebrate it, but the people who do celebrate it should have been on the left. I'm done with this discussion. Watch the full video from Charlie Kirk and then you'll understand. You might have different opinion than him, but there was no hate coming out of his mouth. And that's where I should stop. And that's what I'm telling you. Do 2 comments and move on, because there's no winning with these people. Do you think she's gonna do her research? No, she won't. Here we go. Threats of violence, all done by politicians of the right. Let's see what the bigger problem is. There was no threat of violence. No one was threatening Democrats. What are we talking about? Are we talking about Marco Rubio saying that if you're celebrating Charlie's murder, you're not going to be allowed to US? That's still not a violence, right? I don't know. I still don't know how these people perceive the violence, but there are always bad apples in a bunch, but none of those bad apples should be in position of power, correct? Ideally. Yeah, but looks like bad apples for you are different than bad apples for other people. In the right, loads of these people making threats are in position of power. Didn't see single threat. Whilst all the Democrats in power have stated they do not condone violence, again, this is lie. And do you realize who's actually in power? Yes, it's politicians, but in 4 years, it's you. Well, not you, because you're not, or this person's not from the US, but it's the voters, because the voters have the power to give the power to these people. So it doesn't matter if one guy in the parliament or politician makes a stupid comment. It's not as bad as if million democratic voters makes these comments, because they're gonna give power to someone who thinks the same way. The voters are actually in the power. I think you need to do some more research on what Charlie has said. Yeah, here we go. That's what I'm saying. They will always twist it around, and no, you don't know. Again, I've been watching him pretty much nonstop for a year. I made multiple reactions on my channel to what he said, and then I stopped because we have very similar opinions. And I'd rather enjoy his videos in peace than reacting to that, if you understand. But that doesn't mean I stopped watching him. I literally watched him every single video for a whole year. Anyway, his tweet nor his other quotes can be redeemed by context, because in no context is it okay to tweet, he will kill liberals. He didn't tweet it. Let's go over here. I looked into that. Look, Charlie Kirk, liberals. Nothing about killing liberals if you want to look into that. But this is funny, actually. This is kind of scary. This is from April 7th. Assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same about Donald Trump. In California, activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. We're not gonna read it all, but here we go. Who thinks it would be okay to murder Elon Musk and murder President Trump? So, really, tell me how Charlie... And okay, we're gonna look at the left is being whipped into a violent frenzy, and it setbacks whether losing an election or losing a court case justifies a maximally violent response. This is the natural outgrowth of left-wing protest. Did he write anywhere, we should stop it, we should kill liberals? No, he didn't. So what is this girl talking about? So yeah, that's I would say that was pretty much debunked. He didn't make a tweet to kill liberals. I also asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT has no information regarding that. Nor is it okay to say abortions are worse than Holocaust. And when I saw this, I remembered the video. I had to react. I know I'm telling you keep it to 2 comments, but I had to go further. I reacted to this, abortions worse than Holocaust, because it's, again, so disingenuous. Does the context save him? Yes, it does, because he's comparing literally the number of the victims to the Holocaust. He's not saying the babies went through the same thing like the Holocaust victims. We're gonna look into the video where he's actually talking about it, but I just want to finish at least this comment. Nor does the context save him. You should be able to whip immigrants. Don't know what she means, but again, Charlie was always talking about illegal aliens, and he made it pretty clear that illegal immigrants are illegally in the country. And what left does, they always talk about undocumented immigrants. They're trying to make it look like all the immigrants are equal. No. The legal immigrants in the US are there legally. There's nothing bad to say about them, but illegal. the people who cross the borders illegally or stayed illegally in the US, they're pretty much criminals, because it's criminal offense to stay there without any permit, right? So I'm not even gonna debunk this. Like, we know she's making crazy statements. You should listen to the full convo. Did you know he said civil rights movement acts was a huge mistake? Again, context matters. He said the civil rights movement or act was a noble cause. However, no one expected that it's going to get all twisted, and right now it's used to discriminate, thanks to the DEI and everything, to discriminate the different groups of people. So literally what Martin Luther King was fighting against, and he couldn't know there's going to be some crazy times like nowadays, but everything he was fighting against just turned around and came back. So yeah. Go and listen to his absurd explanation of that one. Also said Martin Luther King was awful and a bad person. This was debunked as well. Go ahead and search for the context, because it did not make it right. You being done with this discussion shows you simply don't know all the things he has said. Hate speech should never be excused. What hate speech? Funny how people are now putting King and Kirk together to praise them when Kirk said awful stuff about the Martin Luther King. And it's crazy, because I literally had this same conversation with other liberal from Canada who literally characterize themselves as gay. And that's her explanation. Like, why she's not happy that President Trump won, because she's gay. That, not lying, that was her answer why she's not happy about President Trump. Ridiculous. You live in Canada. What are we talking about? Also, it doesn't matter that you're gay. Okay, here we go. I replied, obviously. I'm done because I had exactly the same convo with liberal, or you're misrepresenting Holocaust. Hey, where did the rest of my comment go? That's weird. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so I said that I wouldn't be surprised that she would call Charlie Nazi, fascist, whatever. Then she goes again. That is crazy. That I only answered for the abortion. I only chose abortion. I didn't want to waste time, right? You cannot compare the literal torture and people who have actually lived on this planet to abortion. Again, we're comparing the numbers. Like, what's worse, number-wise? It's not disrespecting the people who lived during the Holocaust, the victims and the survivors. No one ever said that. Yeah, so now I'm insensitive just to get the blah blah blah. Apparently about Civil Rights Act, I'm quiet because I did more research. No, I'm quiet because I don't care entertaining this conversation anymore. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it here for a second. You can pause it to if you're interested in reading it. But that's it. That's what I'm telling you. These discussions with Democrats and liberals are always same. Always same arguments. All of them were debunked by multiple people. And we're just gonna go through the abortion. Let's see over here. So Charlie Kirk shuts down pro-abortion logic.
Respond to kind of a specific comment you made. I hope you'll be open to that. I do remember, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what university you did say this specifically at, but you did state that you believe that the Holocaust was not as bad as abortion. So in other words, you believe that abortion is worse than the Holocaust.
Here we go, straight away she's misrepresenting him, and let's leave Charlie to explain it. Sorry for pausing, but...
So they're both distinct evils.
Of course.
With some similarities.
Mm-hmm.
the Holocaust in some ways was far more evil.
Okay.
But as far as magnitude, the abortion crime is more evil. And I can explain more if you'd like.
Okay, sure. So I did do
Debunked.
some research. It is found that 1973 Roe v. Wade was ratified, correct? And so one thing that you did fail to mention was that specifically numbers are just larger because abortion has been going on for a longer amount of time. If the mass genocide, right, that the Holocaust would have continued, it was about 6 million killed per year. That would have progressed to 12 million. That would have progressed to 18 million. But it was ended because, again, it's a totalitarian form of mass genocide. And so I wanted to ask you, when you look at the 93% of women who do get abortions, it's 58,590,000 that get abortions the first trimester, correct? And there is suggestive data that states that 12 weeks, of gestation, there is significant data that has said that pain receptors may not have yet been developed. And so that would mean that outside of the women who received abortions first trimester, it would be 88,200 per year after the first trimester that the babies are likely experiencing pain. I will admit to that. However, I am pretty sure that every single person in the Holocaust, which would have been 2 million per year, as far as the people who could feel pain, did feel that pain. And so I would like to ask you, actually, I think I would just like to tell you, I think that 2 million actual people, kids, grown people who...
No. I never realized that before, but it's ridiculous. First, Charlie compares the numbers. Also, she's talking only about the US. And if she's trying to play it on pain receptors, yes, those people were tortured and everything. But then they were killed in a gas chamber. I don't know, not to be insensitive, but we're just talking about killing people on both sides. Like, why are we even talking about this? It was only about the numbers, the magnitude, like Charlie said.
Who were starved, worked to death. I think that is more significant than the 88,200 life forms, if you will. Because, again, 58,590,000 of them are probably not feeling any pain.
Okay, yeah, but a human life is a human life, regardless of how advanced it is or whether it can feel pain. It still has moral worth.
Right, but I found it interesting. You said it's worse, so I think
Some way, so it's worse in numbers.
Okay.
The Holocaust was worse for
numbers.
2 other different reasons.
Sure, go ahead.
It actually eliminated such a big portion of Jewish population.
Absolutely.
Nearly half of all living Jews were basically vaporized. Mm-hmm. And secondly, there was an intent and an evil of trying to eradicate an entire religious people.
Yeah.
That is not unparalleled, but we've only seen that happen 4 or 5 times in history. Mm-hmm. But just to reiterate the point, what maybe you could tell me, a 4-week-old baby who may or may not feel pain. Let me take your argument and say the 4-week-old baby cannot feel pain.
A 4-week-old baby that's outside of the womb or in the utero.
In utero.
Okay, understood.
So, what is the moral difference of that 4-week-old baby versus you?
Versus me?
Yeah. Why do you matter more than that 4-week-old baby?
Because I have past experience, I also have future experiences. That baby, while it has future experiences, nope, shut up, nope, you are incorrect. That baby does not have any past experiences, and therefore I believe that, yeah, I've probably affected and impacted more people in both a positive and a negative way than that 4-week-old uterus has. I'm sorry, not uterus, embryo.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to react to this. I always hate when they make this argument. The baby would have a future if you didn't kill it off. And look, with Charlie, he had a future, but someone killed him, right? It's exactly the same thing he's talking about. And this girl talking about past experiences, the baby was conceived. Maybe for you, 1-2 weeks is nothing, but for the development of the baby, it already made so much progress. Like, it's... Abortion is murder. let's see Charlie's reaction, and then we're gonna carry on, because we pretty much debunked what they keep bringing up, right? Abortions versus Holocaust, and it's ridiculous because we know Charlie, especially when he said it, he was like one of the biggest defenders of Israel. You really think he would say something disrespectful towards Jews?
So just to make sure I'm clear,
Yeah.
that your moral worldview is that people gain more value the older they get.
Not necessarily the older they get. I would say that people gain
Well, no,
more
you just
value.
said that based on what they've done. So like an 82-year-old has more moral value than an 8-year-old. In fact, usually
because it depends.
just to interrupt, the
Okay, go
West
ahead.
actually was built on the opposite idea that we sacrifice the old for the young. But during COVID, we sacrificed the young for the old. And we actually inverted it. It used to be that the grandparents would fall on the sword so that kids could live longer lives. So I'm just trying to understand, like, and from where do you get that moral worldview? Why do you believe that?
Well,
Okay, we're not gonna watch any further. I'm just gonna put Charlie on the screen, and yeah, I'll link you the video in the comment. And I'm gonna make at least 1 or 2 more videos debunking the civil rights. Martin Luther King, it's probably gonna be in one video. And what was the other thing? We debunked the kill liberals. Oh, there was something else they wanted. Anyway, we'll do that later. So yeah, like I said, I'm asking you all the sane people, or all the logical people, whether you're left or right, everyone should disagree with murder of Charlie Kirk. No one should throw dirt on this man. You might have a different opinion, but that doesn't mean that he was bad because you have different opinion. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I'm asking all the sane people, take your time, shoot 1-2 comments to this hateful minority, to this little group of insane people who are unfortunately louder than the sane people. Yeah, shoot 1-2 comments and then just let it go, because then there's going to be someone who's going to go through the comments, checks the replies, sees that he's not the crazy one, sees that the world is not as bad as it looks. So yeah, let's just carry on with what Charlie Kirk started, and let's try to make a world a better place, especially for his kids and for our kids. Let's make the future better. Let's fight for our freedom like Charlie did. So if you like this video, subscribe, like, and if you have any comments for the template, it's not done yet, but yeah, I will appreciate any suggestions. See you next time.